The message came through space like a weak cry from a dying world. A small distress signal, broken, fading, and full of fear. Inside the human exploration ship Horizon Star, communication officer Maya leaned closer to her screen. The signal kept cutting, but she could still make out the sound of frightened breathing and metal crashing. It was a child's voice, a predator child. Maya's heartbeat slowed. The predators were not allies, not enemies anymore. But not exactly friends either. Their species was known for strength, sharp claws, and a culture that respected power above everything. But this voice was begging for help. She immediately called her captain. Captain Rowan rushed in, his boots echoing through the metal floor. His face hardened when he saw the signal. "Predators?" he asked. "Yes," Maya whispered, "and they sound desperate." For a moment, Rowan said nothing. He only listened. Another burst of static filled the room, then the child's voice came again. "Please, anyone, colony broken, people dying, please." Rowan looked at Maya. There was no order needed. Humans had a rule, a simple rule: if someone is broken, we fix it. He straightened his back. "Prepare medical teams, set course toward the signal." And so the Horizon Star changed direction, cutting through space toward the unknown. The ruins of a colony, the Predator's home moon, came into sight after 2 hours. But instead of proud cities and fortified towers, the humans found only ruins. Huge black scars covered the land. Entire buildings lay crushed. Smoke rose in long gray lines, stretching into the atmosphere like torn flags. Maya gasped. Rowan whispered a quiet curse. No human weapon could have done this. No predator weapon either. Something else had destroyed this place. They scanned for survivors. First scan, nothing. Second scan, 2 life signs. Third scan, 20 life signs, very weak. Rowan immediately ordered the landing. The Horizon Star touched down near what had once been a children's learning hall, now only broken walls and burnt ground. Dust filled the air. The wind carried the smell of smoke and melted metal. Human boots crunched on the blackened soil, and then they heard it, a cry, a small, sharp cry. Human medics ran toward the sound and found a predator cub trapped under twisted steel. Its tiny hands clawed lightly at the air. Its chest rose and fell too fast. A human medic named Lion knelt beside him. Her hands were gentle and her voice calm. "It's okay, we're here," she whispered. The cub blinked in confusion. "You humans," he said in a weak voice. Why come?" Lion smiled softly. "Because you called for help." The cub stared as if he could not believe it. "But we attacked humans once. Our elders told us humans never forget." Lion shook her head. "We don't forget, but we don't leave the broken behind." The cub's eyes filled with tears. "Help others." Humans lifted the steel carefully. They placed the cub onto a soft med bed, and while the medics carried him back to the ship, Lion whispered, "We will find them." The dark tunnels, the next signals led them underground. Through cracked tunnels filled with dust and falling debris, the lights flickered. The ground shook occasionally as if the planet itself was crying. 3 human soldiers moved ahead with flashlights. Meyer and 2 medics followed behind. Every sound echoed, dripping water, shifting rocks, and sometimes whispers. Small whispers, child whispers, and then deep inside the tunnel they found the survivors. A group of predator cubs huddled together in the dark. Some injured, some unconscious. All terrified. When the flashlight beam hit them, many cubs hissed or tried to hide behind broken crates. Their spines bristled in fear. Predators were born proud, but these cubs were broken. One small cub stepped forward, the same voice from the distress call, the leader of the cubs. He looked at the humans through big, frightened eyes. "You came," he said softly. "I told them humans don't leave broken things." Maya felt her heart twist. The cub believed in humans more than his own fleet did. Behind him lay a tiny cub barely breathing. Maya rushed to him. His chest was rising unevenly. A deep cut ran across his side. "Med kit," she shouted. Lion placed a glowing patch over the wound and injected stabilizer. The cub gasped, then his breathing steadied. The leader cub watched in awe. "You fix us," he whispered. Maya nodded. "We will fix all of you." The children slowly stepped out of the shadows. No longer afraid, they were wounded, starving, and dehydrated. One by one, human medics placed them on hover stretchers and sent them back toward the ship. But then the ground rumbled again. An explosion echoed far above. Captain Rowan's voice crackled over the communicator. "Team, return now. Something is still here. Something dangerous." The unknown enemy humans had come thinking this was a natural disaster, but now they weren't sure. On the surface, strange claw marks covered the ruins. Long, deep marks no predator creature could make, and in the distance, high above the destroyed buildings, shapes moved in the smoke. Large shapes, silent shapes, not ships, not animals, something different. Maya felt shivers run down her spine as she helped carry the last cub toward the exit. "Move fast," she said. Her voice was steady, but her heart raced. The cubs could hear the sounds, 2 metal scraping, heavy steps. Strange low growls. One whispered, "Those things, they came from the sky, they broke our colony." Maya knelt beside him. "What things?" But the cub's face showed pure fear. "We do not know. They had no eyes, no voices, only claws. They cut through steel like soft mud." Maya's breath caught. She had never heard of such creatures. Behind them, another rumble shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. Rocks cracked. "Run," Rowan's voice shouted over the comm. Human soldiers moved in front, protecting the cubs. Medics stayed behind to help the wounded. As they ran, Maya looked back one last time. In the darkness, she saw something move, something tall, something thin, something with long arms and sharp points where fingers should be. The creature took one slow step forward, then another. Maya froze for half a second. The creature tilted its head at her as if studying her. "Go!" Lion grabbed her arm. They sprinted out of the tunnel just as the ceiling collapsed behind them. Hope and fear aboard the Horizon Star. The Horizon Star's medical bay filled with cubs. Machines beeped softly. Warm blankets covered small bodies. Medics moved quickly, giving water, food, and treatment. The leader cub watched everything with wide, shining eyes. Humans were supposed to be scary, strong, unpredictable, but today he saw something else. He saw kindness. Maya sat near the cubs, making sure they were calm. One little cub held her hand tightly, afraid she might disappear. "Where is your fleet?" she asked the leader cub. "They ran," the cub whispered. "The monsters came. Our elders said save who you can." Maya felt a cold shock. "They didn't send help." The cub shook his head. "They feared the monsters. They saved the strong ones. We were small, so they left us." Maya swallowed hard. Humans would never leave their children behind. Never. Captain Rowan entered the room, his face calm but serious. "We found more signs," he said quietly. "Whatever attacked this colony may still be out there." The cub's small voice trembled. "Are they coming back?" Rowan put a gentle hand on his shoulder. "If they do, we will protect you." The cub looked up at him, confused. "Why, we are not your people." Rowan smiled, tired but warm, "Because someone needed help, and humans don't leave broken things." The cub blinked. His small chest lifted in a soft breath of relief. For the first time since the attack, he felt safe. The final warning: just as the medics finished treating the last cub, alarms flashed red across the ship. Incoming objects detected. Unidentified creatures approaching. The same creatures that destroyed the colony were now moving toward the human ship. The Horizon Star trembled slightly as its shields came online. Rowan stepped forward, his voice deep and steady. "Hold positions. No one touches the cubs." Maya shielded the youngest cub with her body. Lion prepared emergency transport pods. The leader cub whispered, "They are coming for us." Rowan looked at him with calm determination. "Let them come," he said. "Humans don't run." Outside the windows, tall dark forms moved through the smoke. The Horizon Star was about to face the same monsters that had wiped out an entire colony. And humans were not planning to leave anyone behind. The Horizon Star shook again as something slammed against the outer hull. Lights flickered for a moment. The predator cubs curled together, terrified. Some hid under med beds, their small tails wrapped tightly around their legs. Maya took a breath and forced courage into her voice. "It's okay, you're safe here." But the cubs did not believe her. Their bodies trembled with fear, a fear that came from memory, not imagination. Captain Rowan watched them closely. He'd seen wounded soldiers, dying planets, broken cities, but he had never seen such deep fear in a child before. Whatever destroyed the colony had destroyed their trust too. The first panic, one cub suddenly screamed. They're coming again." His voice cracked. He couldn't breathe. His claws scratched the medbed as he tried to escape. Maya rushed to him. Hey, look at me, you're safe, listen to my voice." The cub stared at her with wide, shimmering eyes. "You don't understand," he whispered. "Those things, they don't stop, they don't think, they don't talk, they just cut everything." His voice broke. Another cub added, shaking, "They broke our teachers, they broke our walls, they broke our everything." Rowan knelt down to their level. "But they didn't break you, you survived." The cubs looked at him as if surviving was not a blessing but a punishment. A strange change in humans. The predators had been raised to fear humans. To see them as unpredictable, dangerous, too emotional, too soft, and yet too hard. But now, watching the humans protect them so fiercely, the cubs began to whisper among themselves. One cub stared at Maya's uniform. It was stained with dust and dirt from the rescue. "Humans dirty themselves for others?" he asked softly. Maya blinked. "Of course, why not? Predators rarely touched anything unclean. They would never dirty their clothing for a stranger, especially for a child from another species." Another cub pointed at Rowan's arm, which had scratches from falling debris. "You got hurt saving us." Rowan shrugged. "Small injury, you needed help." The cubs looked at each other in surprise. Their elders always said, humans protect humans, no one else. But here, humans protected them, small predator cubs who had no power, no weapons, no value to offer. This confused the cubs more than anything. The shadow at the window, the ship trembled again. Maya turned toward the large viewing window. A long shadow passed across it. Not a ship, not a drone, something alive. A slender limb, long bone-like, scraped gently across the glass. A low screech echoed through the walls. The cubs cried out and ran to Maya, clinging to her legs. "They found us," one whispered. Rowan stepped forward unafraid. Shields at full, weapons ready. But the creatures outside were not attacking the hull anymore. They were studying it, pressing their long shapes across the shield barrier like curious insects. Maya whispered, "What are they?" No one had an answer. Memories. The cubs don't want. The leader cub sat on a medbed, pulling his knees to his chest. He wasn't the loudest, he wasn't the strongest, but he had seen the monsters up close. Maya sat beside him. Can you tell us what happened? He closed his eyes. It was night. We were sleeping in the learning hall. Suddenly, every alarm started screaming. Walls broke open. Lights died. His small hands shook. The creatures didn't walk. They crawled like bones bending wrong. Maya felt a cold shiver run through her spine. They grabbed people. The cub continued. Not to eat, not to kill fast. They broke them like toys. His voice became hollow. They enjoy breaking things. Maya placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. His trembling stopped for a moment. You're safe now, she whispered, but the cub shook his head. You don't know these monsters. They don't stop until everything is broken. Human decisions. Rowan stepped back into the room. The creatures are testing our shields. They're learning. We must move. The cubs panicked again. Move where? They follow. They always follow. Rowan raised his hand. We will handle it. Our ship is fast. And our hull is strong. The leader cub stared at him. Humans aren't afraid. Rowan smiled a small, brave smile. Humans fear many things, but fear never stops us. The cub's eyes widened. He had never heard such words from an adult before, not even from his own species. The agreement. Rowan knelt in front of all the cubs. The moment suddenly became quiet, important, heavy. Listen to me, he said. We will protect you, but we need you to trust us. The cubs exchanged nervous glances. Trusting humans was not something they were taught. Why should we? A cub whispered. Rowan did not answer with pride or anger. His voice stayed calm, soft. Because we came when no one else came, because we heard your call, because you matter. The leader cub stared at him. Even though we are not humans, Rowan nodded. Especially because you're not humans. The cub frowned, confused. Why especially? Maya leaned down and smiled gently. Because humans believe every child deserves safety. The cubs went quiet, very quiet. Their own fleet had left them behind, but humans came for them. At last, the leader cub whispered, we will try. And Rowan smiled with relief. Good, hold on to that. Trust is the first thing we fix. The creatures learn on the bridge. Alarms suddenly changed tone. Warning, unknown entities changing form. Warning, shield pressure increasing. The creatures outside began flattening themselves, stretching thin, trying to slip through tiny shield gaps, trying to fit into places no living thing should fit. The humans stared in horror. They're adapting, Maya said quietly, learning our defenses. Rowan's jaw tightened. We launch in 60 seconds. The cub who stood up back in the medbay. The atmosphere changed again, this time because of the leader cub. He climbed off his medbed and walked to the center of the room. His legs trembled, but he stood tall. He looked at the younger cubs. Humans saved us, he said simply. Now we stay close to them. No running, no screaming. We stay together. They protect us. The cubs listened, and slowly they nodded. Rowan saw him and smiled proudly. You're brave, Rowan said. The cub's small voice replied, you fix what is broken. We want to be fixed. The escape begins. Engines roared to life. The horizon star lifted from the ruined ground. Outside, the bone-like creatures crawled toward the ship. Their bodies twisted unnaturally. Their long fingers tapped against the shields. The cubs clung to Maya and Lion. Then the ship blasted upward, fire burning beneath it, and escaped into the smoky sky. But as they left the ruins behind, the sensors showed something terrifying. More creatures rising from the ground. Hundreds, thousands. Maya's blood turned cold. The cub whispered the truth that no one wanted to hear. They will follow us. And Rowan answered in a quiet, fearless voice. Then we'll be ready. The horizon star accelerated into the stars. The real war hadn't even started yet. The horizon star sped through space, leaving the ruined predator colony behind. But even as stars blurred outside the windows, the anxiety inside the ship did not fade. Human engineers worked fast at their stations. Tools clanged, screens flashed warnings. Unknown creatures had damaged more systems than expected. In the medical bay, the predator cubs sat close together, whispering. The ship felt safe, but not safe enough. The leader cub kept staring at the humans as if trying to understand them. He whispered to Maya, you risk yourselves for us. Why? Maya was checking one cub's bandages. She smiled gently. Because humans fix things. The cub frowned. Even things not yours. Maya nodded. Yes, if something is broken. It deserves a chance. The cub looked down at his small hands. Nobody ever fixed us before, he said softly. The human workshop captain Rowan ordered engineering teams to start repairs immediately. As Maya guided the cubs through the hallway, something caught the leader cub's eye. A large workshop filled with sparks and noise. Humans were repairing pieces of broken predator tools, armor, and small machines they had picked up from the ruins. A human technician hammered a dent out of a predator metal plate. Another was rewiring a damaged hologram device. A third was cleaning predator food modules. To the cubs, this was impossible. Predators never repaired enemy equipment. If something was broken, especially from another species, they threw it away. But humans, they fixed everything, even things that weren't theirs, even things from people who once fought them. Cubs shock. One small cub tapped the broken hologram projector with hesitation. A human engineer turned, smiling warmly. You like this little thing? It was pretty damaged, but I'll make it work again. The cub stepped back nervously. Why? His voice was small, confused. The engineer shrugged. It would be a shame to leave it broken. The leader cub whispered, barely audible, but you could leave it and we would not complain. The engineer looked surprised. Why would we leave it? Because that was the predator way, because predators valued strength, not repair, because broken things were wasted things. The cub had no words. He simply watched the humans continue working with care. Maya leaned down beside him. This is a human rule, she said gently. If it is broken, we try to fix it. Machines, buildings, people. The cub swallowed hard. And children? He asked. Maya touched his shoulder. Especially children. The hard conversation later. While the ship drifted in quiet space, the leader cub sat alone near the observation window. The stars reflected in his eyes. They looked like tiny burning worlds. He was joined by Captain Rowan. You're thinking, Rowan said softly. The cub nodded. Humans confuse me. Rowan chuckled. Everyone says that. The cub hugged his knees. Your people, you help us without fear, without asking, without wanting anything. Rowan looked out the window. The universe is full of broken things, he said, and someone needs to fix them. The cub whispered, our people left us. Rowan nodded slowly. I know, the cub's voice cracked. You heard our call, they did not. Rowan didn't speak for a moment. Finally, he said, sometimes strength is not in claws or weapons. Sometimes strength is in staying when others run. The cub looked up at him with wide eyes. That is human strength. Rowan nodded. One kind of it. The cub breathed deeply as if trying to accept something impossible. My elders said humans only care about humans. Rowan smiled sadly. Then your elders were wrong. The creatures mark a sudden alarm echoed through the halls. Captain Rowan, you need to see this now. Rowan and Maya rushed to the engineering bay. The cubs followed cautiously. On the central hologram table floated a piece of metal taken from the colony ruins, one that engineers had scanned while trying to repair it. But the scan displayed something horrifying. Long claw-like patterns burned into the metal, but the patterns weren't random. They formed shapes, almost like symbols. Maya whispered, those look like writing. The engineer shook his head. Not writing, not exactly, more like instructions. The claw marks repeated in specific patterns, smoother lines connected with sharper curves. What do they mean? Rowan asked. The engineer swallowed. We think they communicate through breaking. Maya frowned. Through breaking what? The engineer pointed at the metal plate. Everything. The cubs froze. Rowan stared at the marks. This means they're not mindless. They are learning, the engineer said, studying us, sending messages. Maya's voice grew weak. So breaking colonies, breaking cities, breaking people, that's how they talk. The leader cub whispered in terror. They talk by breaking what they touch. Humans fix what others break. Maya knelt in front of the cubs. You see, she said softly, everyone communicates somehow. The monsters communicate by breaking things. Humans communicate by fixing them. The cubs looked at her with growing understanding, growing respect, growing hope. The leader cub whispered, when we saw humans come into our broken home, we thought you came to finish what the monsters started. Maya shook her head firmly. No, humans came to undo what the monsters did. The cub's eyes glistened. You fix our home. Maya hesitated, then looked at Rowan. Rowan answered gently, we can't fix everything, but we will fix what we can. The cub lowered his head. And us. Rowan placed a hand over the cub's small shoulder. You're already healing, and we won't leave you. The cub closed his eyes tightly. For the first time he believed it. The final mystery just then. The ship's sensors lit up again. Warning, unknown signal detected source. Same as creatures, meaning unknown. A pulse vibrated through the hull like a cold whisper. Maya stared at the screen. It's not an attack, she said. Rowan nodded grimly. No, it's a message. The hologram decoded a final pattern. We found you. The cub screamed. Rowan stood tall, eyes fierce. Good, he said, let them come. The humans did not fear the broken, they fought for them, and the creatures had no idea what kind of species they were challenging. For the first time since rescue, the horizon star felt silent, not safe, not peaceful, just silent, the kind of silence that sits on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. The strange message from the creatures still glowed on the hologram. We found you. Captain Rowan stood motionless. Maya felt her hands go cold, and the predator cubs huddled together, eyes wide with terror. These monsters were not simply following, they were hunting, and they hunted with purpose. A message the cub did not want to hear. The leader cub sat alone near the center bed, trembling. Maya knelt beside him. What's wrong? She asked softly. He shook his head. I know something I didn't want to say. Rowan crouched beside them. Tell us. The cub closed his eyes tightly as if fighting his own memory. Our elders, they hid something from us, something very old. What did they hide? Maya asked. The cub swallowed hard. Long ago, we met the monsters before. Rowan and Maya froze. What? Maya whispered. The cub nodded. Our ancestors fought them, not for land, not for food, for survival. Rowan's eyes narrowed. And what happened? The cub's voice broke. They couldn't stop them. Maya felt her heart twist. You mean your people never defeated these things? The cub shook his head slowly. No one defeats them. They don't stop. They don't retreat. They don't make peace. They don't think like we do. He looked up, eyes full of terror and memory, older than he was. They break everything they see because that is their way. They don't want resources. They don't want territory. They want destruction. Maya whispered, your people never told us this. The cub hugged himself tighter. Our elders said the truth would break our spirit. Human anger. For the first time, Rowan looked truly angry, not at the cubs, but at the predator fleet. They left you behind, they hid the threat, and now the creatures are coming for all of us. Maya nodded, her voice shaking. It wasn't just fear, their elders decided saving the young was pointless. The cub shook his head violently. No, they didn't say that. They said small ones only slow evacuation. They said strong ones should survive first. Rowan clenched his jaw. That's not survival, that's surrender. The cub looked ashamed. We were not worth saving. Maya touched his shoulder gently. That's not true, not for humans. The human promise. Rowan knelt until his eyes were level with the cub's. Listen to me, he said, voice steady and warm. You matter, every one of you. The cub looked confused. But why? We are not human. Rowan placed a hand over the cub's small chest. That doesn't matter. You're alive, you're scared, you're children, that is enough. The cub blinked, confused. What about strength, worth, power? Rowan shook his head. Humans don't save only the strong. Humans save the broken, the forgotten, the left behind. The cub's voice wavered. No one ever saved us before. Rowan smiled sadly. Then we'll be the first. The black box later. Rowan ordered engineers to study the damaged predator tech they had found on the colony. They discovered something strange, a small, almost invisible data shard, a predator black box. It contained the recording of the colony's last 10 minutes. Everyone gathered, the bridge crew, Maya, the engineers, and the cubs. The leader cub trembled. I don't want to watch. Maya squeezed his hand. You don't have to, but the cub shook his head. No, I must. The recording flickered to life. Predator teachers shouting, children running, lights exploding, walls cracking, screams, then shadows moving unnaturally fast. The creatures, tall, thin, bone-like. They didn't enter the colony like invaders. They entered like a disease. Their limbs slithered around corners, their claws sliced air, their mouths, if they were mouths, opened without sound. They broke everything they touched, walls, floors, doors, bodies, but they didn't eat, didn't hesitate, didn't slow down. They broke because breaking was their purpose. The recording cut off just as one of the creatures turned toward the camera. Rowan paused the frame. Everyone stared. The creature had no eyes, no face, just a smooth bone surface. Then how did it find you? Maya whispered. The cub answered quietly. They smell energy, they smell life, they smell fear. Rowan frowned. Fear? The cub nodded. Our elders called them scent breakers. The more fear, the faster they come. Aya felt chills crawl down her spine. And we rescued 20 terrified cubs. The leader cub finished the sentence. So they can smell us across space. The human condition, the horizon star vibrated. The creatures were closing in. They followed the fear trail, Rowan said grimly, straight to our ship. Maya held one cub close. It's not your fault, but the cub whispered, we break everything we touch. Maya put a hand under his chin, lifting his face gently. No. You don't break things, they do, and humans fix what they break. The cub stared at her, eyes wide. You fix us? Maya smiled softly. We already started. For the first time, the cub didn't look afraid. He looked hopeful. The secret map, the black box, contained one more hidden file, a star map, old, cracked, covered in predator symbols. The cub gasped when he saw it. This is forbidden map. Rowan stepped closer. What is it? The cub hesitated. It shows where the monsters first appeared, where our ancestors tried to stop them. Maya leaned forward. Did they succeed? The cub shook his head. No, they did not stop them. They only delayed them. Rowan's eyes narrowed, and now the monsters are awake again. The cub whispered, and they are following the old path straight toward human space. Silence, cold, heavy, terrifying silence. Then Rowan stood tall, shoulders squared. Then we stopped them. The cub stared at him like he was insane. No species ever stopped them. Rowan smiled, dangerous and determined. Then it's time humans try. The cub's breath caught. Why would you fight for us, for our home? Rowan placed a hand on his shoulder. Because fixing the broken means protecting what's left. The coming storm, the ship alarm suddenly roared. Inbound signatures, 12 inbound signatures, 50 inbound signatures, 200 unknown hostiles approaching at speed. The monsters were here. Outside, the stars turned dark as long, bone-like silhouettes surrounded the horizon star. The cubs screamed. Engineers froze. Medical staff held their breath. Maya stood and shielded the smallest cub with her body. Rowan calmly walked toward the command seat. Everyone hold positions. The leader cub tugged his sleeve, voice shaking. Please run, they will break you. Rowan gently placed a hand on the cub's head. Maybe, but humans don't run from broken things. He turned toward the window as the creatures closed in. We fixed them. And with that, the battle humans never expected finally began. The horizon star was surrounded. Dark, bone-like shapes moved around the ship like silent shadows. They didn't rush. They didn't scream. They simply drifted closer, as if studying the humans like a puzzle they wanted to break. Captain Rowan stood in the center of the bridge, shoulders high, eyes sharp. He felt no fear, but he felt anger, not anger for himself, but anger for the cubs behind him. The predator cubs watched from the medical bay screen, terrified. They knew those shapes. They had seen them tearing through their world. Maya held one cub close. They won't touch you, she whispered. But the cub whispered back, they don't need to touch. They can break from distance. They break everything. Maya placed her hand firmly on his back. Not today. The first strike, when the creatures were close enough to touch the shields, one stretched its long, unnaturally flexible limb. Its fingertip touched the glowing barrier. The shield sparked, not a normal spark, but a strange ripple, like the creature had injected something into the energy field. Monitors beeped. Old frequency changing. The engineer shouted, "It's adapting," just like the cub said. Rowan's voice didn't shake. "Hold the shield, adjust frequency manually." Humans worked fast, fingers flying across consoles. Predators would panic. Humans adapted. Another creature touched the shield, then two more, a crawling circle of bone limbs and razor tips. The leader cub whispered, "They break energy too." Humans don't break easily. The creatures pushed harder. The ship shuddered. Lights flickered, panels vibrated, but humans didn't retreat. Rowan stood tall, power to thrusters, slowly forward. "Don't let them pin us." The horizon star pushed through the cluster like a whale through a net. Two creatures hit the shields and flew back, limbs flailing. The cubs gasped. "You pushed them?" one cub asked in disbelief. Rowan smiled slightly. "Yes, humans push back." Another cub whispered, "We thought humans were soft." Meyer answered gently, "We are soft. But we are also stubborn." The cubs questioned. The smallest cub tugged Maya's sleeve. "If humans die because of us," he swallowed nervously. "Will you hate us?" Maya knelt, her eyes soft and bright. "We didn't come for glory, we didn't come for reward, we came because someone needed us." The cub blinked, confused. "But why help strangers?" Maya touched his cheek gently. "Because when you help someone who cannot repay you, that is kindness, that is humanity." The cub's throat tightened. "No one ever did that for us." Maya smiled sweetly. "Then this is the first time." The human promise. Rowan stepped into the med bay for one moment, kneeling so he was eye level with the cubs. "If these creatures want you," his voice deepened, "they will have to go through all of us first." The leader cub's eyes widened. "You will fight for us." Rowan nodded. "You called for help, that is enough." The cub whispered, "But your own species, they need you too." Rowan smiled sadly. "Helping you is helping them." The cub frowned. "I don't understand." Rowan placed a hand on his small shoulder. "If the monsters reach human space, they will break everything. If we stop them now, we protect both our worlds." The cub's chest rose sharply. "You fight for us so we all survive." "Exactly," Rowan said. "Humans don't save just one, we save everyone we can." The cub whispered words he never thought possible. "You humans protect strangers better than our elders protected us." Rowan replied, "Then stay with us, let us do what your elders could not." The creatures changed shape. Alarms blared again. "Sir, the creatures are shifting." Everyone turned toward the viewing screen. The monsters' limbs twisted, stretched, and split into multiple thin strands, their bodies flattened, forming strange blade-like shapes. "They're adapting again," Maya said. The engineer added, "It's like they are changing their bodies to fit through the shield waves." Rowan nodded. "Then we change the waves faster." Humans worked together, switching frequencies, altering shield pulses, rotating energy tides, a dance of science and instinct. The cubs watched in awe. One whispered, "They are repairing the shield while it breaks." Another said, "Humans fix so fast, even while under attack." The leader cub said softly, "That is the difference. We break before we can fix. Humans fix before they break." The creature's true target. Suddenly, the sensors flickered. "What is that?" Meyer asked. A small icon blinked on the display, a heat signature inside one of the lower decks, but there was no crew there and no equipment that should emit heat. Rowan's eyes widened. "That's not a machine, that's a creature." The cubs froze. "It got inside," one whispered. The crew rushed through the corridor. Maya grabbed a pulse rifle, unusual for a medic, but today everyone fought. Rowan kicked open the maintenance door. Inside, a creature was climbing the pipes like a twisted spider, bending its body in impossible angles. Its smooth bone surface reflected dim light. It had no eyes, but it turned toward them the moment the door opened. The cub screamed through the comms. Rowan stepped forward without fear. "Stay behind me." The creature lunged. Rowan fired. Maya fired. The creature shrieked silently, its limbs spasming. It twisted away, trying to crawl into the wall. Rowan grabbed its arm and the bone surface cracked slightly. The creature tried to break him with force, but Rowan held tight. Humans didn't break easily. With Maya's help, they blasted it apart. The shock when the creature fell, something rolled out of its cracked body, a metal object, round, glowing faintly. The leader cub gasped. "That is from our colony." Rowan picked it up carefully. "What is it?" The cub whispered. "A memory core. The creatures took them." Maya's eyes widened. "They don't break to destroy, they break to learn." The cub nodded. "They break to understand us, they break to become better at hunting." Rowan tightened his grip on the core, and now they collected predator memories. Maya whispered, "And soon they will collect human ones too." The promise strengthened. Suddenly, the ship shook again, more creatures attached to the hull. More limbs curled around the shields, more bone-like bodies pressed against the metal. The cubs huddled together. Rowan placed the memory core in Maya's hand and faced the children. "Listen to me." Every cub lifted their gaze. "I made you a promise. Humans don't leave the broken behind. Not today, not any day." The leader cub whispered, "You still believe you can beat them?" Rowan smiled, a human smile full of fire and defiance. "I don't believe," he said. "I know." The cub's eyes glistened. Why? Because humans break too, Rowan said, but we break forward. The human plan. Rowan turned to the crew. Prepare jump engines, set coordinates to the star map the cub gave us. Maya gasped. Sir, that leads to. Rowan nodded. Yes, where the monsters began. The cub stared in disbelief. You go to their nest, the leader cub whispered. Rowan nodded. Yes, if they hunt us, we hunt them back. The cub wasn't afraid anymore. He whispered something he had never said before. Humans are the bravest monsters I have ever met. Rowan smiled softly. We're not monsters, we're fixers. He looked at the crew. And now it's time to fix the universe. The Horizon Star charged its engines. The monsters shrieked silently. The cubs held onto each other, and for the first time they felt safe. The Horizon Star shot forward through space, leaving the hunting creatures behind, at least for the moment. Stars stretched into long white lines as the jump engines charged. But even as the ship escaped, the danger didn't fade. In the medical bay, the predator cubs watched the jump lights flash through the window. They held onto each other, trembling but hopeful. For the first time in their lives, adults had chosen them over safety. Humans stayed, humans fought, humans stayed brave. The leader cub whispered, are all humans like your captain? Maya smiled softly. Not all. But the best of us try to be. The predator fleet reacts far away in the cold emptiness of predator space. An emergency transmission crackled through a command ship. The Predator Fleet Commander Admiral Ferox watched the shaky video on his hologram screen. Predator cubs, human rescuers, and behind them the tall bone-like creatures. The hologram ended with Captain Rowan's voice. We are taking your cubs to safety. We won't abandon them. Ferox's claws clenched. What are humans doing in our territory? He growled. His officers exchanged nervous glances. One finally spoke, voice low. They saved our young admiral. Ferox hissed sharply. Then they interfered with our evacuation protocol. Another officer whispered, maybe they did what we could not. The room fell silent. Ferox felt anger but also shame. He had ordered a retreat. He had left the cubs behind. He had done what predators always did in desperate times, save the strong, leave the weak. But humans had reversed that rule, and now the predator fleet looked weak in comparison. A difficult pride. Ferox paced angrily. Humans are trying to act like heroes. They want glory. But a young officer shook his head. No, sir, they took heavy damage to save our cubs, and they are heading deeper into danger. Ferox froze. What danger? The officer pointed to the intercepted coordinates. They're heading to the breaker nest, he whispered. A heavy silence filled the room. Ferox stared at the star map. They intend to fight the monsters at the source. No predator had ever dared do that. One officer whispered, humans are insane. Another corrected him, or brave. A choice the fleet never expected. Ferox slammed his claws against the table. They will die, and the cubs will die with them. For the first time in predator history, the elders had failed, and humans had stepped into the role predators were supposed to fill. Another officer said, if humans win, they will become legends, heroes of two species. Ferox didn't like that, but deep in his chest, something heavy twisted. Was it shame, guilt, respect, maybe all three? He growled, prepare the fleet. Officers froze. Sir, we are not going back there. That is suicide. Ferox lifted his head. Humans are fighting for our children. He stepped forward. If we do nothing, then we are not predators, we are cowards. A quiet shock spread through the room. Predators never spoke of shame so openly. Ferox continued, if humans can face the monsters, then so can we. With a deep breath, he gave the first order, contact all ships, we are returning to the battlefield. Meanwhile, on the Horizon Star in the ship's central hall, the cubs sat around Maya while she checked their medical scanners. The leader cub tugged at her coat. What if the monsters follow us again? Maya smiled gently. Then we face them again. The cub looked confused. You don't stop, you don't get tired. Maya laughed softly. We get tired, very tired, but we don't stop. The cub whispered, that's strange. Human strange, Maya corrected. The cub nodded slowly. Human strange is good. The human plan revealed. Captain Rowan walked into the room, holomap in hand. We've reached the breaker nest coordinates, he announced. Maya looked up sharply. So soon, we didn't have a choice. They were already tracking us. He turned the holomap on. The cubs gasped. The map showed a massive dark region in space, a swirling void of dust, broken asteroids, and strange floating bones the size of ships. What is that? The leader cub whispered. Rowan answered, that is where the creatures first appeared. Your ancestors tried to seal it, but they couldn't. The cub's voice trembled. And humans want to go inside. Rowan nodded calmly. Yes, the oldest cub couldn't understand why you could run, you could leave us at some safe place. Rowan kneeled so his eyes met theirs. Because if we leave now, the monsters will follow us to human space. They will follow you, they will follow everyone. Meyer added quietly, this might be the only chance to stop them. The cubs stared at Rowan. You fight for all of us. Rowan smiled. Humans don't fight for themselves, they fight for anyone who needs them. The coming union. Just then the alarm chimed again, a different tone this time. "Captain," the bridge officer called, "multiple ships dropping out of warp." Rowan rushed to the screen. Maya held a cub close. The cubs trembled, thinking it was more monsters. But then the screen displayed the new arrivals. Not monsters, not humans, predator warships, dozens of them. They arrived in formation, sharp, powerful, glowing in the dark like predators rising from shadows. The cubs gasped. "The fleet returned," the leader cub's voice cracked. "They came for us." Rowan stared at the sight, speechless. The Predator flagship opened a channel. Admiral Ferox appeared on screen. His voice was low but firm. "Human ship Horizon Star, you saved our children. You fought when we retreated. You stepped in when we failed." He bowed his head, something predators never do. "We owe you more than honor. We owe you blood and strength." Rowan raised an eyebrow. "Does this mean," Ferox roared, "we fight with you?" The cubs cried out in joy. Maya covered her mouth, shocked. Rowan finally smiled, a fierce, victorious smile. The Predator fleet had returned. Not as cowards, not as rulers, but as allies. Humans had done it. They had changed another species, not by power, not by force, but by compassion. The final setup. Rowan looked at the cubs. "See, you aren't alone anymore." The leader cub whispered, "Humans don't leave broken things, and predators don't leave those who saved their young." Rowan nodded. "Then let's fix the universe together." The Horizon Star and the Predator fleet turned toward the breaker nest. For the first time in history, humans and predators would fight side by side. The monsters had no idea what was coming. The Horizon Star and the Predator fleet drifted toward the breaker nest like small sparks entering a storm. The space around them grew darker, not empty dark, alive dark. Strange bone fragments floated in the void. Some were small like shattered shells, some were big enough to be ancient ribs of a giant creature. The Predator cubs pressed their faces to the window, eyes wide with fear and awe. The leader cub whispered, "This is where monsters are born." Maya knelt beside him. "And this is where we stop them." The cub swallowed. "Will you mean all of us?" She smiled gently. "Yes, humans and predators together." Inside the breaker nest, as the ship entered the nest, sensors flickered. "Captain," the engineer warned, "this place bends signals. Our scanners are confused." Maya stared at the dark nothingness outside. Shapes were moving, twisting, crawling in slow spirals around the ships. The cubs huddled closer. Rowan stood steady. "Stay strong, don't let fear guide you." But then a deep vibration shook the hull, not from an attack, not from movement, from something calling. The cubs clamped their hands over their ears. "That's the breaker's song," the leader cub gasped. They call to each other and the whole nest wakes up. Rowan grabbed the nearest console. "Bring weapons online, prepare for full assault." Predator warships formed a shield wall around the Horizon Star, but then the darkness parted, revealing the breaker hive. The hive reveals itself. It looked like a giant sphere of bones fused together, glowing with pale energy pulses. Limbs hung from it like roots, claws sprouted from all sides, and inside something massive was moving. Maya whispered, "That is alive." The leader cub nodded slowly, shaking. "That is the mother breaker, the source of all of them." Rowan took a deep breath. "Then that's our target." The cub stared at him in shock. "You want to kill the source, but no one has ever struck it." Rowan smiled, that dangerous human smile. "Then today is a first." The fleet unites. Predator Admiral Ferox opened a communication line. "Human captain," he growled, "our ships will lead the assault. You protect the cubs." Rowan shook his head. "No, we attack together." Ferox blinked. "You want to charge at the mother breaker side by side?" Rowan nodded. "Your people know the monsters. My people know how to fix what they break." Ferox's eyes glowed with respect. "Then let the universe watch, predators and humans striking together." The battle begins. The first wave of breakers rushed from the hive like a storm of bones. Hundreds, thousands, they twisted in impossible angles. They moved like liquid death. They shrieked without sound. Predator cannons lit up the dark with fire, tearing through wave after wave. Human railguns fired bolts of light that cracked breaker bodies apart. The cubs watched the battle with wide, unblinking eyes. One whispered, "They came for us, but now predators and humans come for them." For the first time, predator children were not running. They were witnessing their people fight with honor. The mother breaker awakens. A deep roar, not sound, but vibration, pulsed from the hive. The mother breaker rose. A giant limb reached out of the hive shell, then another. Then a massive body shaped like a monstrous skeleton unfolded itself, taller than a human battleship with thousands of twisting limbs. Maya froze. "Oh no!" The creature opened its faceless head. Energy rippled across the void. Breakers everywhere paused, then changed direction. Now they aimed for only one target, the Horizon Star. The cubs screamed. "They want us. The mother breaker can smell our fear." Rowan stepped forward. "Then we stop her before she reaches us." The human sacrificed. The mother breaker fired a beam of white energy. The Horizon Star tilted, dodging, but the blast tore through space and hit a predator ship behind them. Boom! The ship shattered into burning fragments. The cubs cried out. "They're dying." Rowan clenched his teeth. "All ships follow my coordinates. We're ending this now." The Horizon Star accelerated straight toward the mother breaker. Admiral Ferox roared through the comms, "Humans, you're charging too fast." Rowan replied, "You wanted to know how humans fight. Watch." The final trick. Maya held the cubs close. Stay down, hold each other. The ship rattled violently as they dodged breakers left and right. Rowan shouted, release the memory core. The engineer pulled a lever. The stolen Predator memory orb shot into space, glowing bright. All breakers turned toward it instantly. The leader cub realized they can't resist knowledge, broken knowledge. They want to break the memory. Rowan nodded, exactly, and that gives us a chance. The mother breaker lunged toward the core, stretching its massive arms. At that moment, Rowan gave the final order, fire everything, human cannons, predator plasma, railguns, missiles, energy beams. All aimed at the same spot, one single bone joint in the mother breaker's body. The hive mother shrieked silently as the combined fire shattered her central limb. The cubs gasped, predators roared, humans cheered. Rowan leaned forward. That was just the beginning. The end of the mother breaker. With one limb broken, the mother breaker stumbled. Rowan's voice echoed, now hit the core. The horizon star dove beneath the creature. Predator ships circled above, together. They fired at the glowing organ inside the chest cavity. The mother breaker twisted violently, energy rippled, limbs shattered, then a massive explosion burst from inside the hive mother. White light filled the void. Breakers across the battlefield froze, crumbled, and dissolved. The cubs held their breath. Rowan whispered, it's over. The emotional ending. When the light faded, silence covered the nest. The mother breaker was gone. The hive was dead. The breaker species had fallen. For the first time in many generations, the galaxy was safe. The Predator fleet sent a final message. Admiral Ferox appeared on screen, eyes shining with respect. Human captain, the story of today will be written in our history forever. Beside Rowan, the leader cub stepped forward. He looked at the admiral and said in his small but brave voice, humans saved us. Ferox nodded slowly. And you cubs survived to tell us what bravery looks like. Rowan placed a hand on the cub's shoulder. You were brave too. The cub looked up at him. I only survived because you came. Rowan smiled. No, you survived because you didn't give up. The cub shook his head gently. No, I survived because humans don't leave broken things. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Rowan felt his chest tighten. The cub finished. And now predators don't leave humans alone either. For the first time in the galaxy, two species had become family. The horizon star turned away from the ruins, carrying the cubs toward safety, toward healing, toward a future made stronger by the bond of strangers who chose to fix instead of break. And deep in the stars, the story spread. Humans don't leave broken things, and predators don't forget those who fix them.